And that's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
He was a true man. The Vice article made fun of us because one of our members said Christ was a true man. He had real cojones. And he does have cojones, man. Like, only he could do what he did. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Pastor and Wife podcast.
You're welcome to hang out with us today.
I'm Hansel.
I'm Natalie.
Okay, we're talking about the characteristics of a godly husband. It's a very popular search on the internet.
It's a good subject.
Okay. So I guess I get to talk about this one.
You'll probably be talking the most.
I believe husbands have to be leaders. And so I did a sermon, and this is where I'm drawing from. You know, in Ephesians 5, it talks about the roles of the wife and the husband. And the one that people harp on the most is the husband is the head of the household. I mean, since the Bible says it, we believe it. That's God's word. But in the sentence before the wives should submit to husbands, it says we should submit to one another as we do the Lord.
Right.
So here's my thing. We're going to talk about this, but guys, if you're not submitted to the Lord as your wife is submitted to the Lord, then you lose the authority in your house. So you have to be both submitted to the Lord. Then the wives submitting to the husbands, and the husbands loving their wives concept works. To me, it's not a concept. It's a timeless truth. So what do I mean by a husband as a leader? Well, I believe, for one, the husband is the protector of the wife and the family. So I don't expect my wife, if a home invasion comes and I'm in the house, I don't expect my wife to put her body in harm's way. I don't expect my kids to put their bodies in harm's way. That would be just so ridiculous, right?
Good to know.
So that one's easy. That one's easy for men to take a grasp of. Also, another easy one is men should be the providers. Now, does that mean the woman can't contribute financially? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that there's something in the man that wants to provide for the women. And I find that in today's society, with the very independent woman, women are amongst, the most numerous in college graduates, more than men now. They have higher paying jobs than men now. It seems like we lost something, It seems like what's going on is that women now don't need a man, and now they're having problems finding a husband.
That's true. I see that a lot. I watch some of those matchmaker shows. And I have to stop watching because it's really frustrating, but that is true. There are a lot of women who make a lot of money and have good high paying, jobs and careers.
Yeah.
And a lot of them want to settle down and get married and maybe start a family.
Yes.
At least get married. And some of them don't. A lot of them don't, actually.
That's sad.
But the ones who do, it's very hard to find a husband. But should a woman suppress herself and get a lower paying job to find a husband?
Well, it depends on what she wants, right? I don't think you can do it all. I know a woman who was a very good professional, very high paid professional, tell me that. She said, I bought the lie that I can do it all. I think people forget about the word time. We only have a finite amount of time on the earth. And, I didn't want to glean from my own experience or my own thoughts on this. And she's one of the ones that, opened my eyes, even before the internet was talking about this. And when she said, I bought the lie that you can do it all, I think it meant that because she spent so much time in education, so much time in her career, that she almost didn't have a family, and that's the thing I think women have to choose. If you want to be a CEO, you want to be the owner of a company that's making millions and millions of dollars, you have to put your time, sweat equity, and your soul into it.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do you have left for your husband or your kids?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, we could go on and on about that too, and but yeah, it's an interesting thing to talk about because we see it a lot now, and it's like I mean, I'm not a feminist, and but I think I don't know, women are capable, but it's like we have to choose what we want in life, what we value in life. Because I don't think that women shouldn't be CEOs, but I think she should definitely think about, do you want a family or do you want a career? Because I agree, you wouldn't be able to do it all, and if you tried, you would just go crazy.
That's true.
Or you would hire help, I guess, but then you wouldn't be there 100% for your kids. You would have a lot of help, from other people.
And I see that a lot in the Asian community. Both parents are high value workers or high value leaders in business, and they have no relationship with their kids. It's just sad. I mean, going back to what hits the heart of a man is that it feels good. It feels like you were created to provide for your family. And I think God made it that way for a reason. Like along the same lines of being the protector in the family, being the provider for the family, put you in the correct place. I think about all these gadgets that we have, phones, tablets, cool Teslas, and they were designed in a specific way. And one thing breaks, and now your life's miserable because your car doesn't work or your phone doesn't work. Men are pretty much the same thing. When we aren't fulfilling the roles God has for us, then man, we get depressed, we go crazy, we get angry, just because we're not in the correct spot, not in the correct position. And does that mean that the man rules the roost, everything that he says goes? It doesn't mean that, because yes, if the man's the head of the household, he's always accountable to the wife and the children.
Yeah.
And I do believe that it's healthy for a man to figure out how to provide. And in fact, for the loser men that women complain about, I don't think they had a male figure in their life that taught them that. Maybe they just grew up with their mom, and their mom was trying their best. I'm not throwing shade on single moms. I'm just saying it's incomplete. A single mom can't be a dad and a mom at the same time. And, that's why we have the church, though. The church is supposed to be the backstop when something like that happens where there's no dad. There's a lot of spiritual dads in the church.
Yeah.
But it doesn't replace a dad in the home. And so when a dad's providing, when a dad's protecting, not only the wife but the children feel secure. One of the things our boys they love is they go, Dad, what if a robber comes in the house? And I go over with them what we should do. And Kairos, our eldest boy, who's 11, he instinctively knew. When I asked him about it, he says, Dad, if you're not there, not at home, it's just me and mommy and the kids, I think I should step up to the plate. And I said, yes, that's true. And I thinking about it, he's still young, and I'm like, no, I don't want that to happen. But I had to say yes.
Yeah.
Because one day he'll be 15, 16, and he'll be taller than me and stronger. But I would still, he's young, so I wouldn't put him in the front.
Of course, yeah.
But if I'm not there, men will feel like they are in the exact place they need to be. And I think it's the lost art. Those two things that I just talked about in the beginning, being the provider and the protector, is a lost art. You see in the news, excuse me, a lot of guys are now predators, or they're abusers.
Yeah.
They're absentee fathers, things like that. Totally opposite of how God created us to be. And so I think there needs to be a revival in teaching men from the very beginning, not waiting till they're teenagers or young adults, but since, at the beginning when they're learning how to talk, if we started that spot, then I think the future is a lot brighter, because what comes along with that is what women want. Women want to be loved and respected at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be cherished. They want to feel secure. And a man that knows how to do those two things provides security and love.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really do believe that we need to start young. We need to start as soon as possible with the young boys.
What do you mean by starting young? Like, what things do you tell them or communicate to them when they're little?
Well, I talked about being the protector thing. I think that's a natural thing that they do.
Mm-hmm.
When they're during their playtime, it's all about swords and guns and wrestling and doing all sorts of adventures and things like that, fighting the bad guy. So that's intuitive. That's built in. The provider thing, I think it's intuitive as well. It's just it needs to be brought out. That's why I like teaching our kids entrepreneurship. We talked in a previous podcast about them selling lemonade and baked goods at church and stuff like that. So right now we're at the point where they can buy their camping tent or buy some gadget they want. But soon I'm going to kind of direct that into a different place to where they can contribute somehow to the house, somehow to the family. And I want it to be fun. I want to make sure I praise them when they do it so that they can see the big picture. And I think that's going to click so well.
I think that goes right along with the fact that I mean, boys and girls both need purpose in life, but I think boys just I think what you're doing is you're giving them purpose, and it goes hand in hand with what we talked about before when we want them to find their purpose in the Lord and their calling in life.
Yes.
And to use that to not just thinking of themselves, but to think of providing for a family or, contributing to the world, to society, and using their gifts to and doing hard things.
Yeah.
And being challenging themselves and working hard to be contributors and leaders.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the best things to teach your kids as a father, not just boys, but girls too. Do hard things. Because doing hard things makes you take responsibility. It makes you understand what you do affects others. It makes you understand what you do affects yourself. And what affects yourself, again, affects other people. And that's one of the best ways to keep children from becoming criminals, because criminals, they're the totally opposite. They think about themselves. Yeah, they don't think about others. Yeah. So if you have something they want, they're there to steal it. If you hurt their ego, now they're going to hurt your face. That's what criminals do. And a real man, a characteristic of a real man, a biblical man, is he has, the healthy kind of pride in his God, his family, and his accomplishments. But he doesn't have that ego that is so easily bruised. I see that so much nowadays when I see someone so quick to fight over getting bumped at a Dodger game or, your foot gets stepped on in the movie theater and people are quick to fight. And I'm like, that's not a man. That's my 2-year-old,
Yeah. Yeah.
These guys are like toddlers in adults' bodies, and that becomes dangerous. A biblical man will defend himself, but not because his ego was bruised, only if there's a clear and present danger. When I see the people with weak, and sensitive egos, I see that they didn't have a father figure in the house. I don't see them having a mentor. And so, these characteristics actually build a better society. Yeah. I look at kind of like the politics of the day, And, people will argue, well, Donald Trump has an ego, and I guess he does. I mean, being a billionaire, to get there, you have to have some sort of ego.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, he's far less worse than a lot of these politicians who, man, they use political power to go after people who disagree with them online.
Like they're manipulative and kind of underhanded.
Yes.
I agree.
I would have to mention our governor here in California, Gavin Newsom. He's a good-looking guy, smiles well, he speaks well, but you can tell he's not telling the truth.
Yeah.
He's manipulative. The devil is much the same way. He entices you with all these pleasures and good things in your mind. But he's doing it with a kind face, with a charming demeanor, to get you to destroy yourself. And so a lot of guys fall into that trap. They're destroying themselves, destroying their wives, destroying their families, because of ego. And that needs to be stomped out. A true man will take the headship, the leadership of the family, without a bruised ego, without a sensitive ego.
I like one of my favorite teachings about leadership mentioned from one of our old mentors, and how leadership is, you think of it as a pyramid, and the leader's at the top, and then everyone kind of is just like lower, and all the little people, but it's actually inverted.
Yes.
And a true leader is actually at the bottom of everything.
Yes, that's true.
And holds the burden and the weight of everything.
Yes.
And holds everyone above himself.
And that's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
He was a true man. The Vice article made fun of us because one of our members said Christ was a true man. He had real cojones. And he does have cojones, man. Like, only he could do what he did. But yes, the man's job is to serve the wife and the kids. Jesus said, I did not come to be served, but to serve. And that servant leadership model is what every man who wants to be biblical has to strive for, has to attempt to achieve. I'm not saying we could do it perfectly. I'm just saying that's the goal. That's the goal for every man who loves Jesus, is to be like Jesus. So if Jesus had a family, how would he run it? If Jesus had kids, how would he run it? If Jesus had a wife, and I'm not saying he did, I'm not a heretic. If Jesus had a wife, how would he treat his wife? And the scriptures are full of stories of how Jesus treated women, how he treated
his mother, women. Yeah.
His mother.
Because that was really
children.
unheard of, that women would be allowed to travel with a teacher.
Yeah, not in his day.
Yeah.
They could not sit at his feet and be taught. Why? Because if they are given information, they can teach someone else. Oh, God forbid they teach another man. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Jesus, he really revolutionized the relationship between men and women. And he did teach that family is so important. I mean, he recited the Old Testament when he said that, when a man leaves his father and mother, he shall be one with his wife. And that's a missing art. Being one with the wife leads to healthy kids, healthy family. I can't
healthy
love my
world.
kids. Yeah, the healthy world.
Healthy families make a healthy world.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot have a healthy family. I cannot have strong, loving kids without loving you. And that needs to be said to a lot of men.
So a funny story about our two middle children.
Okay.
They were playing a game, and this will be what crazy things that our kids do this week. So they're our closest. They're a boy and a girl, and they're 2 years apart. They're our closest in age, and they're two middles in their relationship. And I joke all the time that they're like an old married couple, because they adore each other and they bicker like you not believe. And it's really funny because I think their personalities are really complementary. And, I think they could marry people that are like each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So I'm very intentionally training them. So the funny thing was that they were playing husband and wife. They were playing like family, and which Athena loves, like her favorite thing in the world. So they were married and they had 4 kids.
Okay.
And this is like, tell me your kids are Christian homeschoolers without telling me your kids are Christian homeschoolers. So their names were Peter and Lucy.
Okay, wow.
I don't know if you get that reference right away.
No.
And then they had 4 kids. 2 of them were twins, and the twins were the Tuttle twins.
Okay.
And
right on.
And then they had a 6-month-old and a 3-month-old.
Okay.
So I guess there was some adoption going on there, somewhere in there. I'm not sure. But yeah. So Peter and Lucy's from the Chronicles of Narnia series.
Okay.
And then the Tuttle twins is homeschool.
All the stuff they love.
Yes. But I was thinking about them in this perspective because there's this dynamic, and I think it happens so much in society. I see it so much as that, and it's human nature. Athena wants to control him. She wants Orion to do whatever, and everyone to do whatever she wants them to do, and she wants to tell them what to do. And she's like, when they play a game, she's like, okay, say this, and then say that, and then say it this way. And she's like, she'll just boss everyone around. And she loves that. And then when she doesn't get her way, then Orion's like, he gets so frustrated and exasperated. He's like, okay, fine, I'll just do whatever you want. Just stop crying,
Yeah.
And then he gives in because he's such a sweet heart,
Yeah.
And so I have to tell him, you do not let her control you. You are in charge of you. If you don't want to play, you can say, I don't want to play. You have to be kind. Don't be mean about it. But you can stand your ground, and you don't have to let her control you. Yeah. And I tell Athena, like, sometimes people don't want to do what you want to do, and you have to respect that. But I see all the time women wanting to find a husband or a mate or whatever, who will do whatever they want them to do.
Yeah.
Who's like, oh, they have to like all the same things that I like, because we have to have all this stuff in common. And then they have to like be like my best girlfriend. Like they're looking for a mate that's like their best friend, their best girlfriend. Like they want to hang out with them. They wanted them to go shopping with them. They want them to work out, do all the same things. And I'm like, why do women look for people who are exactly like them?
That's the best way to make a man depressed.
I don't understand.
I think it's a lie from third wave feminism or the media or popular culture. I think that's the lie that's going on. Again, I've talked to women who are professionals, and they admitted to me that, oh yeah, that's what I thought I wanted, because that's what they read in the magazines. Well, that's old now. No one reads magazines anymore. That's what they read on the internet. That's what the YouTube videos say that they watch. But at the end of the day, they tell me that that's what they thought they wanted. And when they got that with a yes man and a man that never stood up to, they would even test them and do something wrong or want something wrong. And the man would give in. And they all say, after a while, they become disgusted. And I remember one who's a friend of ours. She told me that. She said, "Yeah, that's what I thought I wanted, and I got the man, the yes man, everything that I wanted. He did, and never stood up for what he thought was right, even though it was contradictory to me." And she said, "Yeah, after a while, I got disgusted." And I told her, "Yeah, isn't it disgusting? A jellyfish man, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's. I think that's Satan. I think Satan is saying that's what women really want, but that's not what women really want. They want to feel secure and provided for in the relationship, and that doesn't provide any of those good things for a woman.
It doesn't. If I mean, no, I know for a fact, like, you don't like to say no to me.
I don't.
And in fact, you don't really say no. You can, but you'll disagree.
Yes.
But I know you don't. And but you'll still, say what you want to do if it differs from what I want to do. And,
Yeah,
I mean, there's always
absolutely.
there has to be that
I'm not.
back and forth. If
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not saying to be mean. I'm not saying to shut down everything your wife wants to do. I'm just saying if you don't want to do it, or if it's not a good thing, just say it's not a good thing. Say it's not right. Say it's maybe something for later. It doesn't have to be the old, stereotype of the angry husband.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, that's what a biblical husband is not an angry husband.
Right.
Is a husband that's understanding and that tries to see the point of view of the rest of the members of the family.
Right, because he's at the bottom still holding everyone up, and everyone's interests are his best interests as well.
That's right. But he still holds the integrity of the family.
Right.
So there are lines that cannot be crossed. If a child wants to do something that's going to harm himself or the family, it's the job of the father to say no, maybe give an alternative. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I miss those days where, dads would say, hey, you ain't wearing that outside the house. Hey, you're not going to go to this thing because so-and-so is going to be there. Mm-hmm. That is the prerogative of a father. Mm-hmm. Because, again, it's his responsibility. Whatever comes out of the family, since he's the head, which is actually the servant, it's his responsibility to make sure it's right, to make sure it's biblical. And so, the last thing I want to hit on is related to that. So we talked about the father, the husband being the protector and the provider, but he's also the priest or the pastor of the family. Now, does that mean, when the kids have something they learned from Bible class that they can't share with him? No. Does that mean, if the wife is praying or she's reading scripture and she has a revelation of what it means, she can't show her husband?
Right.
No, it doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean like everything from God comes through your mouth.
Right.
That's not right. Mm-hmm. What it means is you have to be spiritually mature enough to be able to teach the word of God to your children and your wife. It means you lead through that authority, through Jesus's authority, And I challenge every man that you have to, and I don't want to be mean, but I'm serious about this. Like, you have to be so spiritually connected that you are doing it naturally, even more so than the wife, I believe. And again, it doesn't mean the wife cannot, be spiritual. It just means that the husband is designated this role for a reason. And here's an example. So I was helping a lady who's having demonic activity in her house. And so the first thing I do is look for open doors for demonic activity to happen, right? Because the woman's a Christian. So it doesn't mean like she's possessed. It just means there's something in the house, in the family that, again, it's an open door where a bad spirit can just walk through and torment people. There was many things, so I don't want to divulge everything, but there was one glaring thing. She was living with her boyfriend, and they had a kid. And she was the spiritual leader of the household.
Right.
Now, that's better than nothing. That's better than no spiritual leader of the household. But there is a special purpose, and it ties in with being the protector and the provider. If the father and the husband is not the priest or the pastor, he's not the protector or the provider either, if that makes sense. Because you have to protect against the powers and principalities, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities in spiritual realms. And so I challenged her. I said, you have to encourage your husband to go to church with you.
But they weren't married.
Oh, yeah, they weren't married. Sorry, your boyfriend. First of all, I said, hey, I know
gotta close that door.
I said, I know this offended you when your mom's priest told you this, but I have to agree with him.
Yeah.
That, if you have a kid together and you love each other, you have to do it right. Get married. So we took care of that. But then again, at the same time, I said, encourage your boyfriend to go to church with you. Learn the scriptures. Learn how to be a man of God.
Well, see, that's my question, because I know a lot of, well, okay, we talked about how church, like there's so many women at church.
Yes.
And church is kind of catered to, I mean, women love church, but men don't always love church.
Right.
So what if the wife doesn't really feel like her husband's as spiritual or as into that as she is?
Well, that's why I said this.
Because I think that happens a lot.
Encourage him. You have to find a way for him to find spiritual friends. That's why I think men's groups are so important. Men's Bible studies, all these things, men's groups that are Christ focused are essential in today's time, because it's that old adage of, whoever you hang around, you become like, right? It's like if you put a young oxen to a mature oxen, right, it's gonna learn how to plow the field. And that's what we need to do. We need to put men in groups of other men who are spiritually mature, and they'll naturally want to be like them. And that's hard, because sometimes if it's coming from a woman, a man doesn't want to do that.
Right.
But that's why I will pray. I pray for anyone in that situation, because it is so essential. It is so vital for a man to have spiritual friends that pulls him up, because iron sharpens iron. A friend sharpens a friend. If a man doesn't have that, sometimes he could go, off the beaten path and do something wrong. That's why church community is so important, because it holds people accountable. I've talked to a lot of men who overuse the head of the household in a wrong way. And even when they're doing wrong, when they're doing things out of pride and ego, they slap on the man as the head of the household, Ephesians 5. And now they become this controlling tyrant in the house, manipulative too as well. And that's dishonoring Christ, because what it's teaching is, now Christ is a tyrant. Christ is manipulative to the wife and the kids. And so we have to break out of that cycle, because it really takes, again, I talked about this in a previous talk about intimacy with God. You can't be a real man without intimacy with God, because it teaches you how to be strong and yet a loving person. I don't know if you can see my tattoo, but it's Romans 16:20, and it says that the God of peace will soon crush Satan under your feet. And that's what it means to be a real man, because it's talking about Jesus, the God of peace, love, joy, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, or patience. But at the same time, he will crush Satan. And
under
that's
our feet.
Under our feet. So under the whole family's feet. And that's what we need to do, is we need to really understand as men that love is the baseline. Service is above that. Then being the leader in title is next. You can't do the other way around, or else you will make everyone's life miserable, And so that's what it really means to be a man that has biblical values, a biblical man, if you will. And I think it's a good thing, and I think people need that. The world needs that now more than ever.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's the end of our conversation for today.
Time is up today.
Is there anything else you want to add before we go?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, you guys, and I hope you tune in to the next podcast. God bless. Bye.
Bye.